The single most frequently asked question I get about teaching English is, quote, are the students well behaved, close quote. And I get that so often because it's not just people who are interested in teaching English that ask me. Like my girlfriend's parents ask, people who are just interested in my life or life in China ask, people who have never been teachers themselves seem to be interested in this question. Sometimes they're asking because they have a stereotype notion that students in China are really, really well behaved, and sometimes it is the diametric opposite. I don't know if they get the idea from watching like a particular movie or something, but sometimes they have the idea that the students in China will be really, really poorly behaved, right? So I'm doing university level teaching. She's teaching kids. Jump in anytime you want to jump in, baby.
Yeah, just this morning when I was talking to my friend, she asked me about how the students are behaved. So
she did a Skype call with someone back in the States, and this friend, that was one of her questions.
But I had to explain that they're in school so many hours a day that, you know, it's understandable for them for it to be hard for me to hold their attention. And,
right. Today, even at the university, so my students are all 20 or 21 years old, but let me tell you, at 5:30 p.m., they were really run down, as opposed to 4:30 p.m.
Yeah, the students that I teach, I just asked them a couple days ago when they get out of school, and they said they get out of school at 10 p.m. They must have time to do extracurricular stuff because they come to this after-school program.
That is basically including the extracurricular stuff that's on campus. So some of them are doing volleyball and some of them are doing English practice club or whatever till 10 p.m.
Yeah, but
they're including all on-campus activities, but some of them go until 10 p.m.
Yeah, it's true that we just came home from getting some food or something last Sunday night, and it was around 10 p.m., and the students were leaving the campus.
And some of them are doing dance practice, and like it's not optional. They have to practice doing a dance for the annual school ethnic minorities festival. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. But I'm just saying that's school in the broadest sense of the word school, that they're staying on campus until 10 p.m.
Yeah.
Still not great, and not great for the quality of behavior and attention you're going to get out of your students if they're that run down, whether your students are 8 years old or are 21 years old.
Exactly.
So I want to answer in two categories here. Are the students well behaved? My concern when coming here was, I already had a lot of experience living in Asia and teaching in Asia and living in China. My concern was actually not about their in-classroom behavior. This might surprise you a little bit. When I was applying for this job, I actually asked about the bus that I would take to and from work, because I teach at a campus, like most university campuses, it's a ways out of town. And I actually asked, do I have to take the same bus as the other students? I was really imagining that some of the students might, be dissatisfied with my class. It might be a bit rowdy or rude or confrontational. That being on the bus like a student with the other students might actually be a bit sketchy, And I was young once. I can imagine myself in the student's position. So in terms of the student's behavior outside of the classroom context, when you meet them walking around downtown, when you meet them on the bus, when you meet them at a restaurant or what have you, which does happen all the time, their behavior is exemplary. I'd say in that context, their behavior is much better than students in North America, and I'd say better than any other part of Asia I know of. So that was a pleasant surprise. But I remember I asked one of the other professors that. I said, well, am I actually going to be taking the bus with the other students? And he actually recognized the problem. He said no. He said, don't worry, there's a special bus that's for professors only, whatever you want to say. So, that won't be a problem. But he knew right away what I was talking about. Like, oh yeah, maybe being literally, sitting next to the other students.
Yeah, I guess you have more experience in other Asian countries. Obviously, this is the first time I've taught, and so I hadn't really thought about it. But it's true that when I see students outside of school,
they're happy to see you.
Yeah, they're all like, hi,
Right, and if they talk to you, it's not inappropriate or sometimes students ask me questions about English grammar or something when one did today. But
the little kids especially seem really excited too. But anyway.
Yes, yeah. Okay. Well, again, we're talking about a huge age range here, age 8 to age 21, basically, between the two of us.
But no, your students are also excited when they see you. I just remember we've seen them. They're like, oh,
Yep. But anyway, so that's cool. Now, in terms of the outside of the classroom thing, the other thing is who I am and how I carry myself. I don't get drunk. I don't get drunk with my students. I don't drink any alcohol at all. And that does change how they perceive me. China is in many ways a very pro-drinking culture. Almost all socialization is done through alcohol, and there really is a sense in which I can say I have no Chinese friends because I don't eat meat and I don't drink alcohol. However, it probably does make me seem much more upright and respectable in my students' eyes from day one. And I think I am treated better for that reason. There are a lot of white foreign professors who drink alcohol with their students, drink alcohol with the other professors, or drink alcohol in mixed company of students and professors, or just get drunk somewhere downtown where the students see them and talk about them. Where the students gossip, the professor was at the disco last week and a couple of students were there and saw him getting drunk and dancing or whatever. And a lot of professors sleep with their students. At this point in 2017 to 2018, it comes up. I warned my students about it, and I talked to other professors about it, and I've met and talked to tons of professors face-to-face. Professors from Kunming, professors from Beijing, professors from other locales who themselves do it or who know they're surrounded by the professors who do it. So there are a lot of things like that would obviously change the dynamics outside the classroom. You want to jump in? Oh, sorry. She put her hand on my knee, so I thought you had something to say. No problem. All right. So, that is part of it, how you're perceived to some extent. It's going to reflect the rules you choose to play by. And in a world where you can earn more money being a waiter or a waitress back in the United States, where you can earn more money working at Starbucks in Canada than you can being an English teacher in China, you're surrounded by people who are here for reasons other than money. You might think that money is a tremendously impure motive in this world and in this life, but there are other motives. I don't think I ever told you, but my other teacher, my Chinese teacher in Kunming, she knew an extraordinary example of that. She told me about a guy who was over 60 years old. Some of the foreigners come here to teach English in their 60s, in their retirement years. And his thing was deflowering virgins here in China. And he had a stack of photographs, he kept, obviously in his cell phone or whatever. But he was very proud of them. And he obviously saw this as his life's work. He wasn't just, seducing younger women. He was specifically into deflowering virgins. And he deflowered a remarkable number of them. And my teacher told me of this partly because she knew this guy as a fellow member of the teaching profession, whatever you want to say. But she really tried to talk to and counsel one of his girlfriends who fell in love with him. And she was just explaining, look, this guy, every year he just sleeps with more students. New bunch of students come in. You got to realize you're going to be discarded. And the girl really believed, no, I'm different. I can change him. I'm not like the other girls. Sad situation. So, in case you think nobody gets hurt or nobody gets their heart broken, sure they do. And that's not a shrinking side of teaching ESL in China. I think that's very much a growing side, partly due to the economic and bureaucratic factors I talked about in a video prior to this one that'll be in the same playlist, the Teaching English in China playlist. So anyway, I realized for a lot of you didn't think this video was going to go in that direction, but I think it really is necessary to go in that direction and talk about that stuff openly. Now, in terms of behavior in the classroom, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. I don't know where this stereotype comes from that Chinese students are meek.
Yeah, my friend was really surprised when I told her that the students that I teach are often too loud for me that I can't even hear myself talk. I'm not. Right. I don't have a loud speaking voice, but still, I am projecting as much as possible. But sometimes the students are just so rowdy. And
so, if I were to generalize, if you think of the students as the best students, the highest level of ability, and the weakest students, and then those in the middle, all three groups are badly behaved.
Yeah.
So, it's not the case that only the bad students behave badly. Mm-hmm. You can have students who are excellent, who are very advanced in English, or they're good at studying, they're good at classroom participation, they're good at speaking class, whatever you want to say. They're good at being students, but they're still badly behaved. Now, it would be hard for me to say that their behavior is really worse than Canadian university students. Where I've just been in Canada, the behavior was really, really bad. But, in Europe or in the Western world, you can definitely be in an environment where the students really feel it's their duty to sit and look at the professor silently, to at least keep the outward appearance of paying attention, even if they are sitting there fantasizing about what kind of car they're going to buy. Their mind is wandering, they're daydreaming or whatever it is, where what's going on, they're not in fact paying attention, but they are at least keeping up the outward posture of a student paying attention. I would say here it's really the exact opposite. Even the best students, even whatever your top third or your top quintile of students, they will very openly not pay attention, not participate, what have you. And today I picked out just two students as examples. I taught 4 classes with two groups of students, two cohorts of students. Mm-hmm. And in each class I picked out one student to point this out, because we were talking about the issue of classroom discipline. And it's part of practicing. It was just an English lesson. And, one of them I went over to her and I just picked up her phone and held it up for the class. They could all see she was playing a massively multiplayer online game. She was playing a video game on her phone. And I said, look, so this is an example. I mean, I can choose to be a mean teacher. I can choose to punish her. I can choose to say, you're not allowed to use your cell phone again or something. Or I can say, look, it's your choice. Like, this is an opportunity for you. In your whole life, have you ever had a foreigner teach you English? No. So this is your one opportunity, and you're blowing it. Like, if you want, you can at least pay attention. You can talk. You can, I said after you leave here, like next year, you're never going to be able to afford. Sorry, my students are poor. I mean, I've had rich students in the past. I've lived in many different parts of Asia, but currently my students are generally poor people. They're never going to be able to afford to employ a white Western English teacher for one-on-one tutoring or something. This is the one opportunity, and they're blowing it. So I did that in a totally nice way, and she didn't get defensive, and the class didn't get hostile, and I didn't kick her out of the class. We just talked about it. Well, look, this is what's happening in the class. I can choose to force you not to use a cell phone, have you? But yeah, regardless of their level of ability and regardless of their level of motivation, because the other student I spoke to, she's very highly motivated. And she smiled at me. She was actually kind of delighted. She liked getting the attention when I did the same thing to her. I went over and I picked up her cell phone. This is a different class, different group of students. I said, and I said to her, last year you were one of my best students. And this year you're just playing on your cell phone all day in class. And at the end and she was smiling and affable about it. She was nice, but she agreed. She knew it was true. At the end of class, she came up and she wanted to prove to me, even though she was using her cell phone, she actually was using it for research linked to the content of the course, that she was doing schoolwork. She wasn't just playing a video game. So somewhat different. But nevertheless, okay, so she's one of the most highly motivated students, but her classroom behavior is disruptive and bad and not participatory and not even feigning the outward appearance of paying attention in class, which is a lot of what goes on in the Western world, is pretending to pay attention when you don't.
Yeah, I don't know where the stereotype comes from either, that they would be organized.
I think the other thing to remember is, and this is totally avertible, this is just a management level decision in the schools, we're treated as not real teachers, and English is treated as not a real subject. Sure, her boss is a wonderful person, don't get me wrong, but the students in your class, they don't behave at all the way they do at their own school for a real teacher and a real subject.
Right, I did voluntarily teach at two different schools here.
You've seen how different that is.
Yeah, when they actually are in class, they're quiet. So, it is different. They're at an after-school program, and
they don't consider it a real education, although in many ways it's a much more extraordinary opportunity they ought to take advantage of. They ought to care more than their usual classes. No offense. But just to give an example, every semester at the university, I'm doing university level teaching, my exams are not scheduled during the exam period. Why? Why are my exams not real exams? Why do I do my exams in my classroom as part of my class schedule and not part of the exam schedule? Because it's not a real class. I'm paid more than my own boss. They pay my airplane ticket to fly here from Canada. It's a lot of money. If anything, they should take it more seriously. The institution and the students should regard my class as more important than a default class, but they don't. So this is, in terms of the behavior of the other professors, the attitude of the institution, there really is kind of an attitude like my class is sort of the cherry on top of their English education. Like, oh, look, we paid a foreigner to entertain you. And not like, hey, guys, like this is your one shot to learn how to pronounce, what is it? My favorite example is the word society. Basically, none of my students can pronounce the word society. And at the end of my year teaching here, I think still none of them will be able to pronounce the word society. And, today, not the only, I stopped and said, okay, society, let's try to get there, because they use the word a lot, talk about social issues a lot in class. Yeah, so look, that's it, guys. I don't know. There are teachers who clown around more than I do. There are teachers who try to be more entertaining to the class than I do. I think they probably have a worse experience. You just saw the new teacher here, who's a Russian guy. You saw him trying to clown around with the students. I don't think clowning with the students gets you more compliance or more respect or better behavior. If anything, it's worse. I think probably my more scholarly approach, probably I get the best behavior out of my students possible in that sense. And currently, this wasn't the case in the first couple of months of teaching, but right now my students respect me and they respect the curriculum I'm presenting. They really get the fact that I'm not just teaching them random crap. I'm not just teaching them something because the textbook tells me to, that I really am putting together something that matters. Whether or not they choose to learn it, it's up to them. Whether or not they put in the time to really get it. And that kind of respect is earned. It's earned for everyone. But probably if you're more of an informal and clowning teacher, it probably takes you more time to earn that respect. I would say even when you have that respect, and even when you have university level students, you still will not get good classroom behavior in mainland China in 2017. And I think that's true age 8 to age 21. It's not going to happen. It's not just that they play video games in class. I think they have the fundamental attitude that this is not a real class. This is something more like a video game.